we have to talk the main event of night one. Gunther, CM Punk, the World Heavyweight Championship. The match, which as we know now from Unreal, was meant to be the World Championship match at WrestleMania originally. This was the original plan, and we all know eventually Gunther did lose that World Championship to Jey Uso at WrestleMania, and I think the plan was for him to always lose that title. So the fact that he lost it, then won it back, and now they are doing the Punk match, it makes me think they are putting this title on CM Punk. I do reckon originally there was probably meant to be a cash-in at this point, but now I reckon Punk is just going to win it clean and simple, but it is going to be an absolute banger. Angie, what's your take on this one?
Oh boy. See, I'm kind of stuck in the middle for this one because Gunther on no matter how we look at it, Gunther is one of those units where he's just decimates through people pretty quickly. On the other hand, we got the never say die CM Punk, which when you put those two in the same ring together, yeah, either way, it's gonna be a great match. This honestly doesn't surprise me that this was supposed to be a WrestleMania match because the stack for this is just absolutely insane. But if I had to choose, as much as I like CM Punk, I'd have to give this one to Gunther. I think he's gonna be to a point where Gunther is just going to overwhelm CM Punk, and this will be that moment where CM Punk isn't going to be able to deal with the pressure.
That is a very interesting point. And also, Punk got into Gunther's head on Monday, which was the go home show. And of course, the old thing in wrestling is whoever's on top on the go home show loses at the PLE. So I could see that happening as well. But Clark, what's your take?
It's the world title. I think it's really cool. I think if Seth Rollins was still involved with the Money in the Bank briefcase, things would be different. But let's be honest with ourselves. The last time we saw CM Punk win a world title, he went and ate donuts, and we had to call the ambulance for everybody in the locker room. So, I don't know necessarily that Punk needs the world title here. I think Gunther's been on a heck of a run. I like the idea of putting on just an absolute classic of a match. Gunther picks up the victory. I don't think via rear naked choke, sleeper, whatever you'd like to call it, like he has in the past. Maybe the clotheslines or the power bombs, uses one of those finishes. Maybe he kicks out of one or gets a foot on the rope of a GTS. We make this as close as possible. Gunther walks away still the champion, and CM Punk looks really good in the process and has other rivalries set up. But I don't see the purpose of it. It doesn't make the title any bigger than it already is right now. Gunther's essentially played an all-star team since he's come back to regain the title after losing it at Mania. Let's keep that rolling into the fall. I think Punk's definitely on the list of people that are okay in my eyes to eventually dethrone Gunther. I don't think the time is at SummerSlam because I think there are other bigger moves to be made and plays to be made in a CM Punk victory celebration after night one could potentially step on the toes of those that we may see night two.
Clark, you want a reason why CM Punk should win it, why it's beneficial to have him win it. I'll give you two. One of them is very simply CM Punk is CM Punk. He's a bigger draw. But the second, and more importantly, because, hey, you could be turning Gunther into a star, 80% of CM Punk's storylines are fantastic. They are thoroughly entertaining from start until finish. Since he's lost the Intercontinental Championship, 20% of Gunther's storylines are entertaining. It's just miss after miss right now with him.
I do agree. At the same time, the matches aren't. The matches aren't misses. And
I don't know.
I think. Well, I mean, he had to wrestle Goldberg, guys. Come on, let's give him a break on that.
Fair enough. To be fair,
let's give Gunther a break. Could anybody have done better than Gunther did in that match? I don't think so. Like, he was not the problem, right?
Yeah.
And I thought he did a decent enough job with Jay. It was a little convoluted, but that's also not his fault. The matches were entertaining. So I don't know necessarily that that it's going to be what it is. I think for sure I would prefer to keep the title on Gunther for the time being.
Fair enough. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I do joke about Gunther, but he actually is one of my favorite wrestlers from an in-ring perspective, right? I do love his stuff. I've watched him for years and years and years since when he was competing in the United Kingdom. But right now, a lot of people are saying it. They said it on yesterday's show. It just doesn't really feel like they know how to book him. He is so bland. And the phrase I always say on this show is story is king. And the stories they're telling with him, they're not
It's
good.
really interesting. I think the absence of Imperium is missed sorely more than we realized. That entrance, Kaiser, I know that Kaiser is capable of more. And I do understand that that's part of the reason why this is not still happening. That entrance, the jacket, all of it gave Gunther more than just being I'm the generic ring general, right? Like a million Y's. I don't know how you say that. Ring general, but he character wise, him carrying himself is more difficult. He can deliver in the ring. His size, his athleticism, his ability bell to bell is there. I think taking away Kaiser and even Vinci, it hurt Gunther as a heel too, because we're not totally sure who he is. And this is interesting. Shotty said, so it was Jay's fault. No. I'm not blaming either in-ring competitor. I would call it creative, right? We've all been watching Unreal recently. I would call that creative's fault. I do not blame, because listen, I was at the night one match. The crowd was electric for that match. The crowd was into the match. There wasn't anything wrong with it. And, but I would say creatively, we didn't make it feel like it was a ton of substance, especially on the back end.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I will say, though, too,
I am blaming Jason Jordan specifically out of all the people in creative.
Jason Jordan.
It's Jason Jordan.
Call out deliberately. But I do want to say one more thing, because I agree with Sharchu. And like I said, I'm a big Gunther fan. But at the end of the day, the stories which you tell with him are often the same. And let's go back to the territory days for a second. Gunther is somebody who would come into a territory, tear the place up, have a great run on top, put over a babyface, then move on to the next territory. And that's what he basically did for his entire career. That's what he did on the independent scene. Then that's what he did in NXT UK. Then he did it on NXT. Then he did it with the Intercontinental Championship. Then he kind of did it with the World Championship, but it didn't really work the same because it's the same company, it's the same TV show. And now it's not working again. Somebody maybe needs some time away between each title reign.
I think it's going to be okay with Gunther. I think I loved the debate yesterday we saw on the show. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I think there were a lot of great points made. At the end of the day, though, I do think that Gunther is actually a bigger star than credit was given. I agree
with that too.
He's in now that lexicon, because the other thing is, when you start to think about stuff like a Goldberg match, he's the logical first name. And that's a position in the company that's above the mid card. When you're like, who could do the retirement match with Goldberg, which is a tall task.
Yeah.
To say the least, right? Who could do it? And you start to list names in your head. It's like, oh, Gunther would be pretty darn good at that, right? He can pretty much do everything in the ring. And so I think for that reason, it's dicey. I'm like in the middle on this one. It sucks because I wish I was like definitively the other way, like he's the best, and like wanted to argue that side. I'm in the middle. I think it's closer to the central or the central, the center.
Yeah.
You know, than anything else. I don't know. The could we see Ilya appear? Ilya and Gunther could wrestle every Monday night for the rest of the year, and I wouldn't complain about it one time on the show. So if that's gonna happen down the road, I'm cool with that.
I'd love to see it. That is for sure. Maybe even actually put them as a we can't do it again, actually. There's too many makeshift tag teams. But them having a tag team run would be something different for Gunther. It would be something fresh. It would be a new story to tell instead of telling the same old story.